Hi there, this is Kristen Moser and welcome to my studio. I live in Gap, Pennsylvania, and my studio is in my home. Gap, Pennsylvania is in the middle of Amish country and it is a gorgeous place to live. I'm really grateful I get to live here. I want to show you my studio and a little bit about my work and introduce you to some of the critters that I have created over time here in the studio. I'm going to turn you around so that I can show you the place. So here's my studio. Entering it in, you can see that I have workspace in the center. I have a center island that we put in here. And on one wall, we've got lots of shelving and boxes and a TV that keeps me company while I draw. I have my work up on the walls and things that inspire me and make me happy. I also have some work of some artist friends. This drawing is my friend's, and that painting is my friend's. This work is my work on the walls. And I have surrounded myself with a lot of my own work to look back at, to inspire me, to remind me of where I started. Here's a couple of the very, very earliest drawings that I did when I started this technique. Let's see, I think decided it was about 7 years ago. And I've been able to kind of look back and see where I've come from, what I liked. When I get stuck on what kind of patterning I might want to work with, the patternings I do work with are inspired by a lot of different things. They're inspired by textiles, by nature. I look at cell structures and stones and wood and leaves. I look at a lot of different things. I also look at textiles and indigenous people from around the world and what kind of patterns they use. And I use my patterns as a tool for shading and creating form, like a fine artist rather than an illustrator or designer. I think of it as a fine art. And I was trained as a painter, and so I approach it kind of in that way. Much of my early influence as a child, and as I looked back at what I really wanted to do with my art, I look back and said, you know, what did I love as a kid besides Disney? I loved illustrated manuscripts, old etchings, the classics, loved realism. I also loved whimsy. And I thought about how I could put all those things together in a new style that was sustainable for me and that I loved. And 7 years ago, this was born. It is equated to, in many people's thoughts, to a method of drawing that was named in the 70s Zentangle. Now, Zentangle is not exactly what I do. I am not a Zentangler. I am not a teacher of Zentangle, because that is a trademarked name used for a special system of drawing. And it's repetitive patterns. And so they are kissing cousins in that I'm using repetitive patterns. But the repetitive patterns used in Zentangle is a whole technique. And the reason it's called Zen is because it's contemplative. And it doesn't necessarily form anything. I'm thinking about animals and their structure and their anatomy. I spend a lot of time looking at the anatomy and learning about the anatomy and the habits and the territory and the habitations of animals, so that I can be anatomically correct. Because if you put this craziness on top of an animal that isn't anatomically correct, it just becomes a little more crazy. And for Picasso, that's fabulous. For Kristen Moser, it is not what I was looking for. So I am looking for clarity in structure and clarity in design. And obviously it is not loosely done. It's very tightly done. I can zoom in on this. These are originals that I just have finished these works recently. This is my most recent work. I've been doing a series of chickens. If you've been following me on Instagram, you've seen that. And I will add, at the end of this brief tour, I will add a time-lapse video of doing part of one of these chickens. I believe it was this one, as a matter of fact. But the designs I make up are influenced by a lot of different things, but they're not exclusively anything. A lot of them I make up on the fly and change on the fly. I've done a recent talk that is on my stories on Instagram about how I go about thinking about my patterning. And one of the things I do is I look at certain objects and think of a pattern, and then think of other patterns that go with it. I started a pattern based on a sand dollar and was able to come up with like 7 or 8 different patterns that created different tones and textures, and my lights and darks that are based from that initial thought about that sand dollar. So if you are interested in that process, you're welcome to find that video and it will tell you more about my process. So in my studio, I have a lot of different things. I have influences on my work. I have things that make me happy, and I have supplies, as you can see. My studio kind of leaks out into this next room where I do my computer work and my printing and scanning, and I also have all this lovely storage. I started creating supplies of product prints to bring with me to shows throughout the winter so that I could be ready, and collecting various things. And then COVID-19 hit, and suddenly I don't have any place to put this in. So it's sitting in this extra room that we have that was going to be a sitting room, kind of a living room, but it's been taken over by my work. This piece here is one in the series of the chickens. The one down below is the original, and the original is, let's see, 6 by 18. And it's called Rulers of the Roost. And what I did was had it printed on acrylic. That's what the top one is. It's printed on acrylic at 12 by 36. And I've had a couple of customers already who have purchased that, as I have just put it up on my website, and people are really excited about these funny guys, and so am I. I think they're a riot. They kind of kicked off my chicken series because I was having so much fun with them. So that is the brief overview of my studio. I'll welcome you to continue to watch so you can see the time lapse of my chicken drawing. I don't think that I showed you yet. This is really where I work. It's got a lot of light, has light there, extra lights around. And I just sit here and draw for hours on end. My 8 by 10s usually take me 30 to 50 hours. And then obviously the larger ones take even more. This technique takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a really steady hand. Thank goodness I was born with that. So thanks so much for visiting me in the studio today. I welcome you to stay and watch the time-lapse video of one of my drawings. I hope we get to meet someday in person. Take care. Bye-bye now.